My name is Nathan Cole, and I've always believed that stories are just that, stories. I've stood in forgotten battlefields, searched the ruins of dead civilizations, and even touched artifacts people swore would curse me. Nothing ever happened. Until Egypt. It began in an antiques market in Cairo. The kind of place where the air is thick with dust and half the stalls deal in cursed trinkets no sane man would buy. A withered old merchant caught my eye, not because of what he was selling, but because he wasn't selling anything. He was watching me. He pressed a journal into my hand without a word. I remember the cover, leather, cracked with age, and a strange, burned-in symbol I didn't recognize. Inside were the writings of Edward Grimsby, a British archaeologist last seen in 1924. The entries grew darker, more unhinged, until his final words. The tomb is sealed for a reason. The curse is alive. They are watching. If you find this, burn it, and pray your soul is still yours. I didn't burn it.
The first night, I dreamed of sandstorms and voices speaking in tongues I'd never heard yet somehow understood. I woke to find a faint bruise on my arm, shaped like a jackal's head. Over the next week, the dreams turned to waking visions. A figure draped in linen standing at the foot of my bed, its eyes burning with ancient rage. And then, the mark. A small, precise glyph carved into the skin behind my ear. When I tried to wash it away, it bled black.
Panic drove me to a man named Elias Mercer, a retired Egyptologist turned recluse. He lived in a crumbling mansion outside Alexandria, and he too bore the mark. His house was a tomb of relics, each one bound with strange wards. He told me the truth, Grimsby wasn't the first. This mark was a summons, not a curse passed down through bloodlines and chance encounters. The chosen were being gathered. For what, no one knew. We weren't alone. I met others. A young historian named Zara, a Cairo street thief called Rafik, a foreign tourist who vanished days later. Each one marked, each one haunted by their own horrors. Their stories were terrifying. Rafik swore he saw sand pouring from his mouth in the mirror. Zara claimed to find ancient papyrus on her doorstep each morning, written in blood. Then, one night, Elias died. His blood pooled in impossible patterns on the floor, forming the same symbol as my mark. And as his last breath escaped, his eyes fixed on mine, and he whispered, "It's not a curse, it's a key." I fled, desperate to escape this invisible grip tightening around my life. But every route led me back. The same streets, the same faces. Even strangers on the train murmuring words I couldn't quite catch, yet chilled me to my bones. And now every night before sleep claims me, a voice I don't recognize speaks one phrase in my ear. The sands remember, and they are coming. I don't know what's waiting on the other side, but I know it's old, older than time, and it's watching. And if you're hearing this, you've already been marked. Some places aren't meant to be mapped. That's what my grandmother used to say when she'd warn me about places that made grown men disappear. But no one listens to grandmothers anymore. My name is Elliot Crane, and if you're hearing this, it means you've gone too far. It began during a solo trip I took in 2019. I just quit a dead-end job, ended a toxic relationship, and decided the ocean was the only thing vast enough to make me feel small again. So I booked a cheap boat charter out of Miami, hoping for isolation, miles from anyone who knew my name. I wasn't aiming for the Bermuda Triangle. I swear I wasn't. But the thing about the triangle is you don't always choose it. Sometimes it chooses you. The sky turned a strange shade of green around noon. The clouds hung unnaturally low, like sagging curtains, and the horizon warped as though the earth had decided to breathe. That's when the compass went mad. It spun wildly, then stopped. Not pointing north. Just pointing. Towards something. I should have turned back. But something about the air, dense, metallic, made me forget why I was scared. An hour later, I saw it. A ship, half-sunken, blackened by age and salt, but still afloat. No flag. No name. Just a skeletal figurehead of a woman with hollow eyes and a cracked mouth as though mid-scream. There was no one on deck. And yet, the ship wasn't abandoned. I boarded it like a fool. The wood groaned under my weight. The air smelled of old iron and whetstone. Rope swayed though there was no wind. Below deck, the walls were covered in carvings. Symbols I couldn't place, circles within circles, eyes with slitted pupils, and something resembling a sun split down the middle. At the end of the narrow corridor, a door. Ancient. Warped. A faint hum came from behind it like a heartbeat. I should have run. I opened it. Inside, a room. Walls lined with bones. Human bones. Skulls still grinning, eye sockets black and empty. And on the floor, a map. Hand-drawn. Ancient. Marking a place in the middle of the ocean where no land should exist. As I knelt to examine it, the room grew colder. The hum turned into a voice. A wordless chant in a language my mind struggled to grasp, yet somehow understood. Return. I stumbled back, desperate to escape, but the hallway behind me was gone. In its place, an endless corridor of doors, each one slightly ajar, leaking light so blinding it hurt. I ran. I don't remember how long. When I finally made it back to my boat, the sea was flat. No waves, no horizon. And in the distance, the ship was gone. I reported it when I returned to shore. No one believed me. Maritime authorities logged it as heat exhaustion and stress. But the nightmares didn't stop. Neither did the symbols. They started appearing on my walls, on steamed mirrors, in frost on my window. The same split sun, the same hollow-eyed face. And the worst part, sometimes I hear the hum again. Usually at night when everything else is still. Like something old and patient calling me back. I've spent years trying to forget. Moving cities, changing my name. But the ocean doesn't forget. And I know deep down, I didn't escape. I was let go. For now.
They say the ocean holds secrets meant never to be found. Secrets older than the maps that dare trace its surface, older than the ships that sink without a trace. And no place in this world bleeds those secrets more than the Bermuda Triangle. My name is Edward Mason. I was a naval engineer aboard the Nightingale, a research vessel sent to study magnetic anomalies in the Triangle. A fool's errand, really. But governments fund what they fear, and men like me get paid to chase shadows. It was day 4 when the compasses began to spin. At first, we blamed faulty equipment. Salt air and old tech, a bad combination. But then the radios went silent. No static. No signal, just a dead, heavy silence pressing in from all sides. Captain Harris ordered a halt. The crew was tense. Jokes about sea monsters and alien abductions fell flat. No one wanted to admit it, but we all felt it, the pressure in the air. Like something was watching. At exactly 2:03 a.m., the sea began to glow. Not the bioluminescence you sometimes get in tropical waters, this was wrong. Thick, swirling light beneath the surface like veins of molten silver snaking through the black. It formed a perfect circle around the ship. Then came the sound. A low, resonating hum. Not heard, but felt in teeth, in bones, in the soft tissue of your brain. It was a frequency no man was meant to endure. One by one, the crew started to change. First, their eyes. Pupils dilating, turning glassy. Then their skin, pale and damp, like something pulled fresh from a grave. And the worst part, the smiles. Wide, unblinking, as if some obscene joke had been whispered only to them. I locked myself in the engine room, clutching a rusted wrench, listening to the wet slap of bare feet against the metal floor outside. I knew it wasn't my crewmates anymore. Something else wore their faces. Through a porthole, I saw it. Rising from the water, a massive shape. Not a ship, not a beast. A structure. Monolithic, ancient, forged from stone blacker than night. Its surface shimmered with symbols older than language, and at its heart an eye. A single, lidless eye. Watching. It spoke to me without words. Return. A command ancient as the tides. I felt my will slipping, the wrench falling from my grasp. And then, darkness. I woke hours later, drifting alone in a lifeboat. No ship. No crew. No monolith. Just endless, empty sea. I made it back, somehow. The official report says the Nightingale was lost to a freak storm. They always say that. But every night at 2:03 a.m. I hear the hum again. In the walls. In my skull. And sometimes when I close my eyes, I see it. That impossible eye. Waiting. And the whispers closer now. Soon. My name is Graham Wallace, a professor of ancient civilizations. I've spent my life chasing the strange connections between the world's most persistent legends. The Curse of the Pharaohs, the Bermuda Triangle, the lost city of Atlantis. There have always been patterns, recurring symbols, prophecies whispered in different languages, places that vanish without a trace, and a thread of darkness tying them together. 2 months ago, I started receiving letters. Black envelopes. No return address. The first one contained a single sentence. It begins where the old gods sleep. I'd seen those words before. Once in a crumbling Egyptian scroll warning of a curse guarding a buried secret. Another time on the torn logbook of a lost sailor in the Bermuda Triangle, and carved onto a stone tablet allegedly pulled from the ruins of Atlantis. This morning, a new envelope arrived. Inside were 3 photographs, a broken pharaoh's mask, stained with something dark, an old nautical map with a blood-red mark in the heart of the Bermuda Triangle, and a brittle parchment scrawled with a strange symbol, the same one a survivor once described seeing on a submerged altar in his nightmares. When I pieced the symbols together, they formed part of a greater map, a map pointing to one place, a place where these 3 legends converge, a place no one has ever returned from. And the most terrifying part? The final letter which arrived this evening. It was a photograph of me, asleep, taken from inside my own house. At the bottom, a message, "You're next."